The 2022 Wimbledon Championships are near, and on the women's side, we have quite a few storylines, from a dominant world number one looking to extend an incredible win streak, a big-name slam-winning Brit looking to dazzle the home crowd once more, the long-awaited return of an all-time great, and many, many more. I'll break down the draw, share my dark horse picks, first-round popcorn matches, and give my ultimate prediction of who I think will raise the Venus Rosewater Dish in 2 weeks' time, here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today. Before I start the video, I do want to remind everyone that we will have a few players missing in the draw due to the Russian and Belarusian players ban. Arina Sabalenka, Victoria Azarenka, Daria Kasatkina, Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova, among others, were prohibited from competing. Now, world number one Iga Swiatek will open on center court Tuesday against Croatian qualifier Jana Fet. She then could play Danka Kovinic in the second round, Yulia Putintseva in the third, Barbora Krejcikova in the round of 16, Jessica Pegula in the quarters, Paula Badosa in the semis, then Annette Kontaveit in the finals. I think Iga's going to be pretty happy with her section overall. Kovinic is there in the round 2, who did push her a bit in the Roland Garros match this year, but much of that was due to a drop in the Pole's form. Putintseva is the projected seed in the third round, but the Kazakhstanian has a tough opener herself against Elisa Cornet, who reached the Bad-Homburg semifinals. I will go ahead and pick the French woman to move through there, where I have her falling to Swiatek in the third. Then moving down, there aren't really any big names here. We do have last year's French Open winner Barbora Krejcikova, but the Czech woman still seems to be struggling from that long elbow injury layoff. Victoria Golubic, a surprise Wimbledon semi-finalist from last year, is a possible second-round opponent for Barbora. Another woman who reached the last 8 in 2021 was Ajla Tomljanovic, who opens against 18th seed Joe Teichmann. Teichmann has been playing pretty solid this season, but she never really performs well in slams. Plus, grass is her least favorite surface. I think I'm gonna go with Krejcikova to make the 4th round, where I'm putting Swiatek through to the quarters. Unlike their previous little mini section, Garbiñe Muguruza's is packed with big names and big talent. First, Chinese woman Qingwen Zheng opens up against Sloane Stephens, which is a rematch of their Charleston match from this year, which Zheng took in 3. We know that Qingwen is great on hard and clay, especially clay, where she made the Roland Garros second week, beating Halep and taking a set off of Swiatek. She still appears to be trying to get a hang of the grass though, as she lost her first 2 grass lead-up events in straight sets. Grass isn't Sloane's best surface either, and the American did suffer a loss to a player ranked outside the top 200, Katie Swan, at Bad-Homburg. Still, she's done decent here at Wembley in the past, and I think her greater experience will get her through there. A Stephens-Muguruza match will be a battle of the Slam champs in the second round, and though Garbiñe is a former Wimbledon champ, I might have to give the edge to Sloane here. I say this because Muguruza has had an abysmal 2022 season and hasn't won consecutive matches in a single tournament since February. She did look better in Eastbourne, so maybe she can carry the momentum she got from that one win into here at SW19. Then Bianca Andreescu and 17th seed Elena Rybakina are set to square off in the second round, and I'm going to favor BB in that hypothetical matchup as she's been looking really impressive on the grass thus far and is currently in the finals of Bad-Homburg. Shuai Zhang is there too, and she's pretty tough on the grass herself, making the Birmingham finals last week. I'm going to have Sloane and Bianca move through there, with Andreescu as my pick to make the second week. The bottom part of this section is definitely less loaded, with the 2 top players being Americans, Jessica Pegula and Shelby Rogers. Pegula's been a really solid force at the majors this season, making the quarters of both Melbourne and Paris, where she lost to the eventual champions Barty and Swiatek respectively. However, she did injure herself during the Roland Garros doubles finals and hasn't played since, so my expectations for her are a bit lower here at Wimbledon. I think Donna Vekic is a very tough opener, as the Croatian excels on the grass, and the same thing with Harriet Dart. I'm teetering on calling for an upset there, but I think Pegula's mental and match toughness will get her through these early few rounds. Shelby hasn't been playing that great recently herself, and grass isn't her best surface, so I'm going to have Jessica make the 4th round, where I have Andreescu prevailing. The 3rd section belongs to 4th seed Paula Badosa, who's on course to meet Petra Kvitova in the 3rd round. Kvitova hasn't had decent results for the past few seasons, but she seems to have reignited that spark after reaching the Eastbourne final today for her first final in over a year. Despite being a 2-time champion, Petra hasn't made it past the 4th round at SW19 since when she last won the title in 2014. I think with her game rounding into form and the somewhat decent draw, she can surely make another second week finish. Badosa, meanwhile, isn't that strong of a title contender for me. First, she's had a subpar 2022 season overall in my opinion, which is large in part due to her injury proneness. Paula withdrew during Rolling Girls due to a right calf injury, and she only played one grass court match in the lead-ups, where she fell to world number 169 Jody Burrage 6-4-6-3 in the Eastbourne first round. While grass is probably Badosa's least favorite surface, that's not the case for former Wemby quarterfinalist Camila Giorgi, who could meet 2019 champ Halep in the 3rd. This is Simona's first time playing at SW19 since her triumph here 3 years ago. Simo won't have an easy return to center court either, playing tricky Czech Karolina Muchova. This would normally be a huge upset alert because Muchova also made the Wimbledon quarterfinals last year. However, Karolina did roll her ankle at Roland Garros and is only coming into this slam with one grass match played. Simona has been playing great grass tennis this season, making the semis of both Birmingham and Bad Homburg. She did pull out of the semis in Germany citing a neck injury, but I think that's only precautionary stuff with Wimbledon right around the corner. The Romanian does have a tricky draw there, potentially playing the big-hitting Giorgi and Kvitova back-to-back, but I think she can handle both of these tests. Meanwhile, 7-time champion Serena Williams is in the draw, and she opens up against France's Harmony Tan before possibly playing 32nd seed Sara Sorribes-Tormo in round 2, 6th seed Karolina Pliskova in round 3, Coco Gauff in the 4th, Paula Badosa in the quarters, Iga Swiatek in the semis, and Kontaveit in the finals. Considering the fact that she's unseeded, let alone ranked in the thousands, this is a pretty decent draw for Serena. Harmony Tan is ranked 113th and doesn't have a lot of experience on the big stages. However, Tan is pretty crafty and isn't afraid of hitting a lot of slices and drop shots, which can definitely trouble the 40-year-old. Then, should she play Sara Sorribes-Tormo in the 2nd round, she'd be guaranteed to play a lot of shots, same with Christina Mikhail, who always gives her a hard time. In 2016, Williams had a dogfight with Mikhail in round 2 as well, and ended up winning the whole title, so maybe the same could happen here. The first really major test on paper comes in the 3rd round, with Karolina Pliskova being a possible opponent. Pliskova is last year's runner-up and is always dangerous on the grass. However, Karolina hasn't had a lot of success this season, struggling to go deep in tournaments. She had a somewhat solid week in Berlin, losing in the quarterfinals to Gauff, but she did lose her Eastbourne opener to Katie Boulter. Pliskova could actually meet Boulter here in round 2, but the 6th seed first has to get by compatriot Teresa Martinkova in round 1, which could be a little bit tricky. Pliskova will definitely be a little bit more vulnerable in the earlier rounds, but regardless, I do think that Serena has a good chance to take her out. For one, Pliskova's serve has been pretty subpar for her standards lately. That matchup would be more of a battle from the ground, which I think Williams can handle, but will she? I'm not sure. In the 4th round, Serena would likely face an American in either Coco Gauff or Amanda Anisimova. Both of these women are also pretty beatable for Serena in my opinion, but looking at that 3rd round in itself, I'd give the slight edge to Gauff. Coco seems to be far more comfortable on grass and had an excellent showing in Berlin, where she beat Pliskova en route to the semifinals. Gauff has made the 2nd week at Wimbledon the past few times, while Anisimova's won just one main draw match. However, Amanda has been making vast improvements in her game this season and seems to save her best tennis for the biggest tournaments, so she could have her breakthrough here. I was teetering between having Serena or Pliskova take this quarter, and I ultimately went back and changed my pick to Karolina. Now don't get me wrong, I still believe that Serena has the potential to to take this section and honestly go all the way. When Serena first announced this comeback, my expectations were in the dirt, but looking at her doubles performance in Eastbourne gave me a little bit more hope. I was impressed by how well Serena was striking the ball after not playing for so long. The forehand was following through and not looping up, which is always a good sign. Then most importantly, the serve looked very solid. The serve is a big contributor to Serena's Wimbledon success in the past, as it can come in clutch and getting her easier holds, which frees her up to do more damage on return. The biggest question mark I feel will be movement and fitness, because singles is obviously twice the running in shots. Honestly, if Pliskova doesn't make it through to the third round, I think Serena has an excellent shot at making it out, although Coco might be a little tough. However, the Czech woman always seems to elevate her game against Williams, and with this being her first tournament back, I'm not sure if Serena is going to be able to weather the storm. I also have Pliskova taking out Coco because I picture the Czech woman getting better as the tournament progresses. Plus, she'll be pretty hungry for revenge against Gauff for Berlin. I've already spent a lot of time on Serena and this section, so let me come back later and move on to other sections. At the top of the bottom half, Danielle Collins leads a Brit and American riddled section, including US Open champ Emma Raducanu. This section is pretty weak to me because neither Danielle nor Emma have played much grass tennis. Collins skipped the grass warm-ups completely, while Emma just played 7 games before retiring in her opening round in Nottingham due to a side strain. Reports have been saying that the injuries prevented her from practicing as much as she likes, and match fitness is obviously a big concern. I'm actually going to have Alison van Uytvanck upset her in round 1, as the Belgian's big serve and overall big game might be tough for the 19-year-old to handle, as she's of course coming in here without a lot of match prep. 19 seed Madison Keys is also dealing with an abdominal injury, which forced her to retire mid-match against Ostapenko in Eastbourne. I don't think it's as big an issue as with Raducanu, and I think that Maddie has the potential to go fairly deep here if she's healthy. I think fellow American Collins has a fairly decent shot at making another major second week, but only in the second round, followed by another American, Alison Riske, in the third. Looks to be a bit tough. Riske is notoriously good on grass, as she's a former quarterfinalist here at SW19. However, I have a feeling that Katerina Siniakova is overdue for a big run here, and I'm going to have her upset Riske early on and advance through this entire section and actually make the quarterfinals. Third seed Ons Jabeur will open against qualifier Mariam Borchluk, followed by potentially Canadian Rebecca Marino in the second, Kai Kanepi in the third, Angelique Kerber in round 4, Collins in the quarters, Kontaveit in the semis, and Iga in the finals. I think Jabeur's section here is pretty decent and straightforward. Kerber at the top poses the biggest threat to the Tunisian here in my opinion, as the former champ always plays her best tennis on grass. Magna Linette and Elise Mertens could be tough outs for Angie, but I think she should be able to handle them with relative ease. Then Ons looks to be in for a couple of hard-hitting affairs, first with Rebecca Marino in the second and Kai Kanepi in the third. I think that she will face both these players, and I have the Berlin champion getting through there. Between Kerber and Jabeur, I think I'm going to go with Angie. Ons is in slightly better match form than Angelique, but I think the matchup itself favors the German for 1, and then 2, I'm not sure if Ons is ready yet mentally to act like her seed in majors and go really deep. She did have a breakthrough here at Wimbledon last year, making the quarters, and the confidence is growing, but at the moment I feel like Kerber will edge her out. Maria Sakkari's section is next, and it's pretty meh to be honest. The Greek woman's on track to meet Sorana Cîrstea in the third round, who's a decent grass player. Then at the bottom, Jelena Ostapenko will be the overwhelming favorite to make the second week there, as her seed Martina Trevisan is pretty weak on grass. Maria's had decent grass results this season, and I think her draw allows her to make another deep slam run if her game maintains a high level. I think Sakkari and Ostapenko will face off in the fourth round, where I have Jelena moving through. The Latvian is simply much more comfortable on the surface than the 5th seed, and is currently in the Eastbourne finals playing some pretty solid tennis. Second seed Anett Kontaveit will start against American Bernarda Pera and can next meet Julie Niemeyer in the second round. 29th seed Annalena Kalinina in the third, Belinda Bencic in the fourth, Sakkari in the quarters, Jabeur in the semis, then Swiatek in the finals. Now, even though Anett is the highest ranked woman here in this section, she's probably my last pick out of all the 4 seeds here to go deep. First of all, Kontaveit's been struggling the past few months, and something's shifted badly since she reached the Doha final. finals. She did contract COVID in the early part of the clay swing, which did have an effect on the Estonian's fitness and overall performance. She actually hasn't played any grass lead-ups because of her COVID recovery. Annette recently hired Torben Beltz as her new coach, and Beltz coached Kerber to her Wimbledon crown in 2018, so maybe Annette will have some success as well. However, she doesn't have the best grass court track record and has never made it past the third round at SW19. Meanwhile, 14th seed Belinda Bencic has been playing some pretty solid tennis lately, recently making the Berlin finals. She did injure her ankle during that final, but I think that she should be fine by the time the tournament rolls around. Then Beatriz Haddad-Maia has been the queen of grass tennis thus far, going on a 12-match win streak including 2 titles and a 500 semi-final finish. Between Bencic and Haddad-Maia, I'm leaning more towards the Swiss woman because of the greater experience she has at the slam stages. Haddad-Maia has never made it past the second round at any major, but prior to the grass swing, she never won a tour title, so there's a first for everything clearly. In the bottom part, I'm having Kalinina take out Kontaveit to reach the second week, as the Ukrainians been pretty impressive on both clay and grass lately. Then I'm putting Belinda through to the quarters. For my predictions, I have Swiatek and Andreescu in the quarterfinals, with the pole coming through there. Then between Pliskova and Halep, I'm picking Simo to progress. In the Kerber-Sanyakova scenario, I'm picking Angie, then I'm going with Ostapenko to meet her in the semis. In the finals, I have Swiatek moving through, as I do Ostapenko, where I'm having the Latvian take the title. I first am really confident that Iga will make the last 8 at least, because as I mentioned earlier, nobody really in her section can match her pound for pound. A player I do believe that can do this is Bianca Andreescu, who I was this close to having made the finals in Iga's place. The Canadian has really seemed to return to her slam winning tennis lately, and everything's come together nicely in terms of her game and the overall comeback. BB is currently in the Bag-Omburg finals, which is good on one hand because it tells us how well she's been playing and it gives her ample confidence heading into the tournament. However, this could possibly be a negative thing because she might get a bit fatigued during Wimbledon. We all know Andreescu's injury prone, and I am worried about her body not holding up at Wimbledon. Her draw isn't the easiest too, which is why for prediction's sake, I'm going with Swiatek. However, as we saw with that Rome opening set, Andreescu has the game to trouble Iga, and I wouldn't be surprised if she did the same here and even won. In Halep's section, I can see either Kvitova or Georgie take her place, but I will go ahead and stick with Simona because I've been impressed with her grass court tennis lately. Then of course there is Serena, who I honestly can see taking this whole thing. As I mentioned earlier, I like what I saw from her in doubles at Eastbourne, and she honestly looks like she hasn't lost a step from last year. I've also been impressed with the practice footage that I've seen at Wimbledon from her, as the movement and ball striking looks clean and crisp. Serena's attitude in general just seems great. She appears to be much more calm and relaxed this tournament as opposed to last, which I think she can attribute to the hiatus. She also had a sports psychologist, so I feel like she'll really be prepared, at least mentally, to go deep. Now, the reason why I'm not having Serena go as far as I feel that she could is because, for one, the uncertainty with her playing singles matches again after the layoff. She is no spring chicken, so I'm worried about an injury issue arising mid-fortnight. I was worried about her slipping again in doubles, where they cover half the court. Now I'm going to be absolutely terrified for singles. Also, I'm not having Serena raise the Venus Rosewater Dish for Rena's Army's sake. Every time I predict her to win a slam, it goes bad. I predict Serena to win the 2019 Australian Open, and she tweaked her ankle. Had her winning the 2020 Australian Open, and she had the embarrassing loss against Wong. For the 2021 Aussie Open, Serena was my pick, and we got Make a Shot. Then at last year's Wimbledon, had her again, and she slipped and had that horrible injury. I'm not trying to jinx her again. The rest of my picks are pretty self-explanatory, to be honest. I guess the biggest surprise would be having Ostapenko come through and take the entire thing, but I actually feel much more confident in her winning than I do Iga. I was going to have Swiatek taking it home, but something just wasn't sitting right with me, and my stomach started twisting a bit. My body literally told me that this wasn't the right pick, at least for me, so I actually listened to my body. I really can't explain why I don't think that Iga will win that well, but I guess a big factor is that we're on a completely different surface, which makes her a bit more vulnerable to losing. There's also the fact that she took about a month off from competitive play since her triumph in Paris, so maybe that mental edge and fear factor from the streak will fade a bit. Still, I think she's far better than most in her path, and I think the somewhat favorable draw will aid her in the long run. Now, choosing Ostapenko to win the tournament is a bit risky because she hasn't made the second week of a slam in 4 years. However, the last time she did make it past the first week was at Wimbledon, where she made the semifinals in 2018, losing to Angie Kerber. The year prior to that, she lost to Venus in the quarterfinals. Grass is Ostapenko's surface to me, and she's had pretty extensive success on it, winning Eastbourne last year and making the finals again this year. I believe she's long overdue for a really good run out of slam anyways, and Wimbledon might just be the place. Jelena is typically more vulnerable in the earlier stages of slams, and I think her draw allows her to work her way through any kinks in her game. Bencic and Haddad Maia are two pretty decent threats in the quarters, but I think the Latvian should be able to handle them. I don't typically like to read into predicted finals matchups because they're so unlikely of happening, but Jelena is more than capable of beating Swiatek and ending the streak, as she was literally the last person to even beat the Polish woman. Now, moving away from predictions, here's a list of all the first round matches you need to keep your eyes pulled out for. That's all for my Wimbledon tournament preview, and let me know what you think about the draw and my predictions in the comment section below. Do you think Swiatek and Ostapenko are good picks? If not, who do you think will be in the finals and win it all? Also, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post the men's preview. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.